Hello everyone and welcome to yet another PCS2 analysis stream / YouTube video, depending on where you're watching. I'm Toby and today it's EU, it's day 2 of the tournament. And yeah, we got 4 interesting games to go through. If you haven't already watched, you can watch the first games of EU and you can watch, well, the other regions as well. They should all be on YouTube at this point. If not, then go ahead and search for them because they are there. Yeah, so that's it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. 4 games of EU, and of course starting off with 2 games of Miramar, then hopping over to 2 games of Erangel. It's only, as far as I know, it's only NA or North America that does 1 full day of Miramar and then 1 full day of Erangel. So should be pretty straightforward. Now let's get started, should we? Let's see. Plane in the air. I'll draw it up. Just like we normally do. Let's see. Just before the plane, like just before the circle pops. Let's see where we are in terms of everything. Are there any big surprises at this point? No. Still surprised that that TSM gets all of San Martin and everything else. But I guess ever since Entropic got kicked out of the tournament, I guess you can not kicked out. I mean, they didn't qualify for the grand finals because they were looting San Martin and they were being quite a pain in the butt for TSM. So ever since they have been eliminated, TSM is now having a lot easier time with what they do than what they did before. So pretty straightforward circle, somewhat center. It's, I mean, a lot of opportunities for most teams. Again, Picado, you'll probably see, or Picado, Los Leones, you'll probably see a lot of teams try to wrap underneath. Same thing over here. I think you'll see more teams up to commit to the south side than the north side. Hey, Beamy. Simply because it's easier to transition from, I want to say, from this area into this, or even up here, or around, than it is to go from over here up in this direction. Because this is, I mean, while everything is uphill when you get to this point, it already starts going uphill from here. Like this is the flatlands, right? So it's easier to go from like this hillside, crash into a compound, than it is to go from up here into flat into a compound. There's more time for opponents to shoot at you, and also I feel like having to go down this is a lot trickier than having to go down here. Two paths that you can drive down safely. You can try and wrap around here, you can go around there, or you can go around out here in this direction. Whereas to pretty much no matter where you are over here, you can always get down. So you have a lot more opportunities to leave from here and go in that direction than you do when it comes to going from here in this direction. You're really easily like forced into having to rotate right next to opponents should you have to go all the way across. So let's see. Teams opting to go south around first phase, already taking some taking a spot. Spiro goes out to scout, sees something free, goes down to take it. He scouted more though. Northern, oh, that's Liquid actually. Liquid knocking each other with vehicles. That's of course not optimal, but shit happens. So splitting. T-Bone, that's a wide 4-way split for Omarken. I kind of like it, gotta say. A wide 4-way split for Omarken. I mean, of course they loot Chumacera, so they're in here already. But still, a pretty wide split. Etiquette, not quite as widely split. Ents doing their usual Ents things, coming in south around. Shift W, somewhat the same. Trying to wrap underneath, maybe get up to the hilltop here so they have some control and can go further forward. Windstreak coming in late, super late actually, with the blue. They're going to be wrapping in south as well. And they time it right, so as soon as they get in, the new circle pops. Like Maxisaur is practically in with the shift, right? New circle, send us up around Chuma. What do you do here? Well, as I said before, everything south of this road is uphill. Uphill in this direction. So if you're sitting down here, you have no idea of what's going on up here. You simply cannot really scout it. Oh, that's not true. You have no idea what's going on. God damn it. Up here. So imagine these red lines being extended as part of the uphill. If you're in this, you cannot scout anywhere here. But if you're sitting and playing hilltops up here, you can see what's happening up in this direction. So right now, nobody here knows what's going on anywhere in this area of the map. And at this point, it's going to be extremely difficult to scout because I guess you can say the usual crossover spots, church, compounds, this is open, okay, but you're running in between Omagan players, Facelands compound, the hilltop, Tornado Energies compound where you can scout over. They're already occupied. You could take this compound as well if you can get up there. You can go either through Wildcats or if Wildcats themselves up to go up the hill to get vision in this direction. They can do that. Ends timed it well. They got in, they got a high ground position, and now they can scout further forward. Win streak still a little out. And then far away from everything, we have Na'Vi. Not that unusual. They're always pretty late on their early rotations, especially if it's somewhere else than where they loot. And then we have Ratio Edge coming in late as well. Look at what Ratio Edge does. This is actually kind of cool because we might be talking about Ratio Edge later this game. Ratio Edge are super late. They're way up here. I don't know, I mean, they probably didn't expect the shift to come back to them, but they knew they were late and they weren't really going to stress it. Watch how they rotate now, because what would you normally think? And some of you might know what they end up doing, but most teams in this situation would probably want to go somewhere here, scout forward, and then maybe go in this way or try to find something else in this direction. Pay attention to what Ratio Edge ends up doing instead. Shift W, taking control of the hilltop, playing it slow up there. Sugger is in the compound. He gets pulled up on by Olaf Windstreak. And then he goes, yeah, that's probably not something I want to fight for. And then he leaves. Goes up and plays Chuma. Ratio Edge, miles out still. All the way over in Las Leones. Wrapping south around, trying to get info. High ground position, get some vision. In the meantime, if you watch where at this point, if you watch where everyone is pretty evenly split. There's a ton of space down here, obviously. Hey, Nutley, and hey, Beanie. I said hi to Beanie before. But obviously there's going to be a lot of space down here because, this whole thing is a big open field where you can't really do a whole lot. And everything else is just hillsides where, for the most part, you're going to be rather exposed to the other side. So a mountaintop, or hilltop is like your 4 scouting points, I would say. And then, of course, you can have the compound and another hilltop here to scout from. Ratio Edge goes for the south side one, down here. And everything else, really, if you draw a line like this, everything else is up here. And why is that? Because all this is compound play. You're in the open, and should the shift come to you, then you have your compound. You'd much rather, this is open, this is compounds. Does that make sense? It's much easier later in the game to crash and fight in the open, because you leave your vehicle somewhere and then you play on foot. In this area, you cannot really just leave your vehicle and play on foot, because it's all, whenever you hit this road, it's all flat, and I know it's not completely flat because there is a mountain ridge up here and there are some different small hills everywhere, so it's not like it's a full-on pancake. So it's much easier if you're from up here to maneuver around and then try and play on foot from, anywhere. Than it is to sit down here early game and then expect to be able to get a compound up here. Because you cannot really play on foot. There are only certain areas where you can be and play on foot from. Where Ibro is one of them. The hill over here is playable, but not if some of these surrounding compounds are still in, because they'll be able to see you. As long as the hill up here is in, it's gonna make it really difficult to play some of these spots. So it makes perfect sense that when we draw the line, kind of diagonally, that we see 1, 2, 3.5 team on the south side. And 11.5 team, there's 11.5 teams up here, and there's only 3.5 teams. Actually, 12. I can't count today. 12.5 teams up here, and 3.5 teams on the south side. Which, as I said, is mainly because you want to secure a compound, and then if you have to, you can go play in the open, rather than secure an open spot, and then if you have to, you can go take a compound, because those compounds will most likely not be available by the time you get up there. Let's see. Shift comes in. Okay, so now a lot of these players have to leave their compounds, and at this point in time, can you rotate south around? Sure. But a lot of the open stuff that you were able to play before is now out. And let's say TSM wants to do a wide rotation around like this. It's not necessarily a bad idea, but it's going to take you a long time to do. You're going to be driving through different teams, depending on where Ratio Edge stops. You're going to be fighting through a lot of teams going down there. And also, it's not just a road where you can go 150 kilometers an hour all the way with your Mirado. It's pretty bumpy, and you're either going to flip your vehicle if you try to just speed it through, or you're at least going to not be able to drive full speed the whole way. So it's going to take you a while to get there. And by the time you get down here, this circle is probably either already have popped again, or it's about to. And then you're in the hills, which you know the circle is probably shifting away from, and you have to play it on foot, pushing on foot into a city where it's just really open around the city, and it's extremely difficult to push into. Like from here, there's like a full perimeter where it's extremely hard to run down on foot if there's anyone sitting in the, like we can call it the industrial area of like the upper layer of Chumacera. So TSM alongside with Liquid already have Clip inside the circle. Northern Lights have Patulin and Spiro in. Omag and Avasco, they're kind of still in their little small split there. But they will all have to play the north side of the circle. Where, again, as I said, there's not really a whole lot you can play in between. And one thing that surprised me, actually, is Shift W's decision here. Because they're sitting in a wide three-way split. Braxco is already moving. But then they say, we don't want to play the hilltop, we want to go down and play inside the city. And I think part of the reason is that they see FaZe Clan move in, but they're only 2 players. So why they all leave the hilltop is actually a little surprising to me, because I thought they, at least in my opinion, I would love to hear if any of you, be me if you're here, very talented player, what you think of it. I would always prioritize sitting in this more than sitting down here. Of course, it's shit if you have to push down, but I mean, turn it around. I would much rather push down than I would push up. If you had to go in, like, you know, either one or the other direction. So I was actually surprised to see Shift W give up this spot and try to take houses below. Because I feel like you pretty easily get... there's not a lot you can do from those houses. And you cannot really prevent anyone else from crashing you. I mean, people can take this, they can sit above you, and then you're completely pinned into the city. So I mean, I would love to talk or hear from Braxco or Chris or one of the guys as to why they decided to leave the hilltop. You can see they're kind of trying to split it, because they leave Braxco and Kilyakai up top, but then they come down as well. And they give this spot to Winstreak. That's gonna be a fun one for later. But in the meantime, as you can see, everyone else is in the north side. If we, again, cut the line, 1, 2, 3, 4 teams are south. We still have 16 teams alive, so we have 4 teams south, and we have 12 teams up here. 4 teams down here. Everyone else is still trying to figure out, oh my god, what the hell do we do on the north side? And in the meantime, raise your edge. Slowly and steadily, TSM, they go, well, we gotta go to the city. Nothing else we can do. They get eliminated. Practically. I believe Fix survives for a little while longer. Then we get the hard shift. Could have shifted anywhere. It becomes a hard shift to the southeast. Ratio Edge, golden position down here. They can just chill for now. In the meantime, everyone up north, your opportunity to rotate south around has been eliminated by this. You cannot drive up here. You guys probably know it's a very steep mountain. You can get in here, you can go up there, or else you have to go up on this road all the way down and up there, or all the way underneath on a bike, maybe go up something like this. I don't even think you can do this on a bike. It's extremely steep. So the only real access point you have to the circle is there. Unless if you crash into this, right? Where at this point in the game, you probably have to expect that there's already a team up here, even though there isn't. You probably have to expect that there is. So your only access point to the circle is from here to here. You can drive in. And I think that's actually what bystanders try to do. The thing is, you're not only fighting opponents, you're also fighting time, because the circle's going to be closing in, and it's phase 4 coming into phase 5, so it's going to chunk pretty decently on your HP. Tornado energy, as expected, wrap around because they want to have the high ground control. Bystanders, as I said, too late. On it, they are going for literally exactly the spot that I was talking about, trying to make their way through. You can see tornado energy; they're already in the area, but bystanders, they do get around, so they make it just in time. Na'Vi go, well, we gotta go somewhere. Doesn't work out. They end up getting killed because they try to crash into the city. And while 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 buildings were available, they opted to go as far as they could, and it didn't work out for them. Bystanders, tornado energy, forced to take a fight. Bystanders managed to bail. Tornado energy does the same thing, so they lose 2. Tornado energy lose 1. New circle pops when we're going further east. Again, cut a line. We're very open area down here, city up here. Everyone is playing on the north side of this. If we draw a line through the middle, we only have a few teams down here, while everyone else is playing on the north side. And why is that? Well, there really isn't a whole lot to play down here. As long as there's a team in this compound, you cannot really play anything on this side of the road. I mean, these guys can, but no one else can. And because you have Windstreak on the hilltop sitting with their DMRs and bolt actions and whatnot, every time you... like, these guys can see the entire circle. Offstring and Maxisaw have vision on quite literally everything. Unless if you're hiding in a bathroom in a building somewhere, they will be able to see you. Like, they can see the entire circle, maybe with the exception of Lipson and Rip, because they're kind of down behind this ridge. They can see almost everything. Kemba has full vision on Ratio Edge, down towards the south. These guys can see, well, this much. Like, they can see all of this from where they are. Which, again, begs the question to me, why Shift W opted to leave that position earlier. I mean, to be fair, right now Shift W is sitting pretty well in this circle. But still surprising to me that they opted to go down. Bystanders take the vehicle around. They get themselves inside the, some call it fire station. I don't know, the red brick building. Place, try to find themselves a spot between the broken cars. Tornado energy and Windstreak force a fight with one another. They try to cross over, doesn't work out for them. A little surprised also here, first of all, that Tornado energy takes vehicles. It's not exactly being stealthy. And I would have thought, now that they know that they killed 2 of Bystanders players, because they had the fight down here, right? They had the skirmish here. They killed 2 Bystanders players. Why not try to push around on foot? Maybe take the fight to them, rather than going into the unknown in this direction. They know there are players below them inside the city, and you're not going to be able to play below the bridge, because, I mean, all these players will see you. And if you drive up and take a fight to a fresh 4-man team, you're also going to get third party by them, whereas had they opted to go around here, because Windstreak's focus should still be and is still on the city, they could have had a potential 3v2 fight against Bystanders. So a little surprised to see them, A, going into vehicles, and B, committing the way that they did to the fight in this direction. I didn't really understand that call. New circle, could have gone anywhere, goes and kind of keeps the ridge in alongside with, obviously, the downhill on all sides. Wildcats will have to leave. Etiquette Blaze will have to do the same. Ends needs to do something too. Ends, there's only really one thing they can do. Well, this is 3 things, but crash into Shift W to some extent. Trying to go around this way doesn't make sense. Trying to go up here through a city, not gonna happen either. Wildcats find themselves, there's like a little dip down here they can play from. I like the fact that they make that rotation. It's a pretty smart play. Unfortunately, they lose 1, but they make it across. The issue here is that when they get across, the dip is really small and you're limiting your ankles, so they pretty much have to prone down. Whenever these guys are eliminated, they have a chance to make the foot up, or make the play up, but because they never get to spread out fast enough, they end up dying. Like Shiv and Aduzi just get an angle on them, and it's practically impossible for them to do anything. So as soon as they got here, they should have started to spread out immediately. That just never happens. So Rashich gets to hold them off. They do lose one, but they hold off extremely well. They go underneath, and they got the kills on them. I believe Monkey gets all of them. Both of them in the end. There you go. Gets both of them. In the meantime, because Winstreak has to constantly... Winstreak knows that Rashich is playing the south side, right? Winstreak is sitting up here. They know that Rashich is down here somewhere. As you can see, they never commit to try and hold off here before they realize, or before they know that Rashich is taking this fight. As soon as they know that these two teams are fighting, that's when Maxisor comes back up top to hold off. That's when Kemba, who was sitting down here holding before, runs up to the top. And they're now all looking in this direction, making sure that no one is pushing up here, because they know, well, Rashich ain't going to be pushing us right now because they're fighting against Wildcats. They opt to sit up on the top side, hold off here. Wanderer is holding off, or trying to hold out Yord. He gets the kill on him, runs back over, helps out. Again, they're occupied elsewhere. No reason to fear a team pushing in that direction. So they get to commit all of their power to look up north. They have the ridge line to play around. And they get all the kills on them. And now, straight up 4v3, they have a ridge to run around. Like, this is all downhill. So it becomes like a side of a hill engagement. And this was a really good fight. It's a little difficult to break it down in terms of just having a map view. But both teams were kind of doing the same thing. Have one player sit on the top. Offstream, you can see, is trying to make sure that no one is trying to wrap around. So he's playing slow on the top. Shiv is doing the same thing. Make sure that no one is coming here. Ducey is helping from above as well, as Shiv as a spoiler. Monkey is playing the circle. Shiv goes down, and that's when I was thinking, oh, that's Rashich losing, because now they lost kind of their eye in the sky. But as soon as that happened, Aduza gets a double knock, and you go, okay, fair enough. Things have turned around. Now it's a straight on 2v2. Kemba and Wanderer are there to try and see if they can get some info, but it's a 2v2. Monkey is a little out of position in terms of helping out Aduzi. Or actually, I should say the other way around, because Monkey does have vision now in this direction, but Aduzi, with the eye in the sky, cannot see them because the ridge kind of curves around that way. So Maxisor immediately runs in the middle, splits off Monkey, so they go from a 2v1 to a separate 2v1. Smart play. Isolate the solo and get the other one after, whereas had they started wrapping on one side, Aduzi could have helped out, or had they wrapped on one side, Monkey could have helped out, right? But instead, they quickly cut him off, get the kill on him. Offstring gets the other. GG. Smart play and smart rotations, and a lot of this came off of Shift W leaving, because had they stayed up here, they probably would have taken the fight 4v2 to Maxis on Offstring, and then it could have been a whole other story. But interesting fight nonetheless. That ends up giving the win to Winstreak. Good game for them as well. I believe they got 15 or 16 kills in that game. It was a pretty wild one. Let's hop over to game number 2. Oops. That was not on purpose. Something along the lines of that. With the drunk pilot taking a turn down here. That's me in Flight Simulator. Woo! Circle down towards the south. A lot of teams, I mean, again, when we have these diagonal planes, especially on Miramar, teams tend to be able to go wherever they want, because the diagonal planes gives plenty of access points to the horizontal roads, and you can drive wherever you want. Even if your plane path doesn't allow you to fly all the way to your city, adepts can go here. They can go out to El Zaha if they want to. I mean, you know, everyone can go essentially where they want in these type of circles, which is what they do. Still surprised though. Look at how much space TSM has in the middle. When is it, like, when have you ever seen a tournament where one team gets to loot all of this? They even have Hacienda, but they don't loot it. I mean, that's a lot of space for TSM. I hope, I mean, I don't know if I hope it, but it would be fun to see. Maybe it's Nerd Energy, even though they probably don't care too much for it. Try and go in and take something from TSM in San Martin, because that's a lot of loot. I mean, I know Example and Quishy are looting up here and they're fine with it, but if they go down and loot the top side of San Martin and pressure that instead, I'm pretty sure both Iroh and Vex would back off to Hacienda. But we'll see, I guess, tomorrow when the next games are coming. Let's see. Give me one moment. I have to check this real quick. Again, waiting stuff. I have to answer phone calls if they come. Las Leones, somewhat center in the city. No one really wants to go there, understandably so. Wildcats already looted it. Etiquette, they go, nah, they should have left by now, and they do. Wildcats are pretty fast on their first rotation, and it normally involves them leaving the city. So Etiquette are gonna go out and play the hills on the east side of the city. Again, no one really wants to sit inside. And you have tons of vision from where Huth is, and the compound up here is also pretty good to scout further forward. But Huth can see absolutely everything from up there, so if he has himself a scope, it's pretty damn good in terms of finding information. FaZe Clan rotating in south around, and a lot of teams actually opting to wrap all the way underneath. You have, I mean, obviously Shift W is already down here, so they're going to be coming in. Omagan doing the same thing. FaZe Clan runs all the way underneath, and then you have bystanders up here as well, doing essentially the same thing. They know they're rotating behind FaZe, so they're not taking the exact same path, but they are rotating south around too. So a lot of teams coming south around, a lot of teams coming north around, meaning that it's pretty clear. When you rotate like this and like this is going to be open because all the teams are moving around that, right? So Liquid, look at how much space Liquid has. I mean, they're all on their own with plenty of room, and they're obviously going to be moving closer to the center as well. But with everyone wrapping on a circle, it means that there's going to be a lot, like a big area up here that is going to be mainly open. So whenever we do get those shifts that go back in that direction, doesn't happen this game, but that's when it gets really interesting because that's when all the people have to go back. Like for example, see a shift like this. Now the new circle hasn't popped yet. If the next circle went up here, you would see all these teams having to go back and then around, because again, you don't want to go inside Los Leones, right? So you'd see a lot of teams trying to do this, a lot of teams trying to do this, and then this would be completely open. So it's pretty fun when those shifts happen. Now it does center up to some extent. Actually, it's pretty damn center in the compared to the previous circle. And what do we got here? There's not a whole lot you can play on the north side. I mean, there is, but it's rare that the circles hard shift up in that direction. Is it rare? No, not really. But there, what I was trying to say is that there's a lot of space where only a few teams can fit in. These are essentially your spots that you can play. And how many of them are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 spots to play in this circle or in this terrain. And normally 1 or 2 teams would split a few of them, meaning there would probably be at most 3 teams playing those positions in total. Bystanders, FaZe Clan fighting down towards the south. They kind of tumble into one another by doing the same rotation pathing. How did that come to be? FaZe Clan stopped to scout. First FaZe was driving down. He hears the vehicles. Pretty easy trap set up by FaZe. It's rare, I feel like, that FaZe set up these type traps. So not surprised that bystanders kind of get caught by surprise. But at the same time, they probably should expect people to be around Portal at this point in the game, knowing how many teams up to wrap south around. Usually. So maybe they thought they were being faster than what they actually were. You can see Omaken coming down in this area as well. Trying to see if they can get a chance to third party, playing on foot for the rest of it. Up towards the north. Blaze, and who was it? Liquid there? Oh yeah, there was a clean sweep by Liquid and Blaze there. They end up wiping them. Survive with 3, I believe. And maintain the compound. They were being helped a little bit by Northern Lights and Navi, of course, but it all worked out pretty well for Blaze in that engagement. New circle goes further center. Etiquette are right in the middle. Again, we still have all of this that no one wants to play in, and then of course we know next shift is gonna exclude all of this stuff. What does that mean? I believe it might actually want to exclude that as well. So it's pretty clear where the circle is gonna go. Oh no, I don't think it excludes this, and that, this, that, and this. it's gonna try to exclude. So it's gonna go either down there or maybe up there. There's no way this circle shifts west. And everyone, as you can see, is playing according to that, because if you draw a line down, there's really only Ends and Northern Lights on the west side. Bystanders going up on the hill to try and scout, trying to wrap through the city. They know they're gonna get shifted away from, but you're playing as 2. It's limited what you can really do here. Main issue with sitting on the wrong side inside Los Leones here is these hills are very steep. You can climb some of them with a bike, but if not, then you're pretty much forced to take some of the like main roads down, and then you're going downhill in a vehicle. Everyone is already sitting on the other side, and they'll be able to see you, and it's gonna be suicide. So it's kind of delaying the inevitable when you go into the city like this. Now they could potentially try and wrap south around here, but it's still a difficult play, and it's a hard decision to make because you don't have that much time with the circle shifting in early, and excluding your rotation to wrap around. Again, hitting phase 4, damage is starting to tickle a little more than it did in the beginning. So shift W, they have plenty of space in the middle. I would assume that Braxco's compound is going to be the compound of priority. A lot of teams still fighting that wrapped around. Like all the teams that we saw wrap around earlier, they're now finding themselves in a kind of a choke point on the east side of the circle, where in this area there's only room for so many teams. So these guys are kind of forced to fight one another, while there's a little more space towards the west. Northern Lights and Ends take a fight to the compound. Northern Lights win it. They're never scared to take a fight. They even stay alive with all 4. Omarken and Bystanders are forced to fight. Beamy tries to get away. No! Leave me! Runs back down towards his bike, I believe. And oh, there's a Murado there. Okay. And then he's going to go full speed forward. Where do we go, Beamy? Where do we go? Where do we go? Into the middle of the circle. Prone, chill, hope to stay alive. There are a few good dips for solos to play in around here. But there's really only room for solo. I mean, if you try to fit a 4-man into them, that normally does not work out the way that you want it to, simply because there's not enough space. What is Page doing all the way down here? They get Beamy away. Page wraps south around to try and see if he can scout something in this. Maybe he's scouting the compound. Plays further underneath. Very isolated from his teammates. But now, as you can see, Omarken trying to wrap around. They get himself a compound. That is a really, really good play by Page. They stay above to make sure that no one is looking. And Page scouts, takes it. The team can wrap around in good time and get the compound with him. Really smart read and play by Omarken in this situation. They get to avoid the confrontation. Now they have a secure spot inside the next circle they can go to. And at the same time, they can try and take the fight to Face Clan underneath. They've heard all the commotion. They know there's an engagement going on. And they have a compound to play from. That is a really smart play. Vasco drives forward. It's a bait. They get Kilyakai down with it. Now Vasco unfortunately dies. They go into the middle of the field. That to me is a little, I don't want to say premature, but a little early on the rotation. They know there's people there. They get the knock on 1 as well. But they know that there's a team up here too, and they know that they have vision. They fought Face earlier, and they probably have eyes on them, so they can't really have too much of an impact on that engagement. But still, maybe wait, because Windstreak is going to be out as well. So maybe wait for Windstreak to do something. For example, they're getting knocks up here now. Wait for Windstreak to do something else, so that you know that they won't be looking your way, and then crash. Or maybe hope that another team is trying to crash them and you can third party. Like they're moving in before the circle has even started moving. So I feel like had they waited a little and forced, maybe Windstreak would have started pushing out in this direction earlier. And then they could have made the move. By going into the field, they just leave themselves completely exposed, and that's going to get them killed. Page trying to play on foot on his own. Runs into Uber, finds the flush on him. And is now playing solo. Only 2 players alive from Shift W. They got a little help from Windstreak earlier. That's fortunate. Then you have TSM up top. I mean, and they were 2 from... They had Kilyakai as well. So there's still 31 players alive by the time that Saga and Braxco are all that's left of the team. Tornado Energy, 3 alive. No, 4 alive. FaZe Clan 4 alive until Page takes down 1. Etiquette playing as 3. They get the kills on to win streak. And the thing is, everyone is forced to play the ridges, because as soon as you start pushing down, all these people down here will be able to see you. So it's a really, you can see there is so much space that is being used by 2 players in this circle, because you cannot push into it. Then everyone else can see you. It's kind of a donut type game. Good circle for Braxco and Soccer. They get to stay. I mean, it's not a good circle, but it's actually better than a lot of other scenarios. Etiquette trying to figure out where they can go. Finally, one is found. Braxco, here's the third party opportunity. Soccer's on the other side trying to hold off. And that's when the Germans just go nuts. Braxco does get knocked. Soccer gets to run over because Kemba is on his own. And now we're in a 3 alive. 3 alive. Again, surprised that after the rest comes in, they Wildcat. It's as if the aggression that we used to see from Wildcats isn't really there to the same extent anymore. Of course, I mean, they had to get healed up and everything. But the Wildcats that I remember that was never afraid to take a fight and whatnot, it's as if they've started slowing down a little. Braxco gets a double, turns around, finds his MK14, gets a double again, gets the last one. Code Mago goes down. Braxco and Soccer wins the game. All because of the timing on this. Braxco tries to... He knows that Page is up here. Soccer tries to suppress. Braxco wraps around. Gets the kill. Perfectly timed, because now you have FaZe Clan and Tornado Energy fighting. He continues forward. He knows for a fact there's no way FaZe Clan has time to look at what's going on down here while this is going on. So Soccer gets the knock onto Gustav. He's holding with him. Braxco gets a knock. Or gets knocked himself, I should say. And because they're so occupied up here doing other stuff, they get a chance to rest. So, to be honest, in hindsight, they might have been better off having Soccer also run in this direction, but they themselves didn't want to get third-partied potentially by Kemba either. So, I like the fact that they split out, even just with 2 players. They split out to try and take some more control, because they were always in a position where rest was possible. So, smart playing by Shift W, and ends up winning them the game. An interesting one as well, where all the teams kind of try and wrap around, which ends with them being like forced to try and push into the circle together, and that creates that massive choke point we were talking about. Now let's see. We're headed on over to Erangel. Can I draw this line straight? Kind of. I can't draw straight lines. It's not a... We should call it that. Toby's PUBG analysis. No straight lines. Because I can't do that. Let's see. Somewhat northern plane. Doesn't really matter too much. Everyone can go where they want. No one's on Millie because it was that far north. So the teams that would normally be down in that direction have opted to go elsewhere. It's true. Thank you so much, Cheesecop. Yeah, sometimes I hit them, you know. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Let's see. Where are we headed next? Nothing really out of the ordinary here with the first circle. TSM, Miracle has stopped going down towards Etiquette. I like that. Coffee Express has arrived. Miracle has stopped trying to contest for small Pochinki or pre-Pochinki or mini Pochinki, whatever you want to call them. Instead, he's stealing a vehicle away from Winstreak. I like this. Now they have 4 cars, and there's plenty of loot for 4 players in school and apps. I think it was just a greedy play. I mean, maybe it was one of those. Well, I mean, on Miramar, we get San Martin, we get Graveyard, we get the God Compound, and we get Hacienda. Why can't we get the same amount of good spots on Erangel? And then Etiquette were like, nah, Miracle, you don't get that. So, they have settled for school and apps, which is, I mean, still pretty damn decent spot to loot. Circle goes south around. Again, not really the biggest surprises in terms of anything going on loot-wise. Gem T is out here, he's always out here. Winstreak looting around Rossok is by no means surprising, but I actually thought it's funny because there was a time, actually not too long ago, I guess it was between Charity Showdown and PCS1, or maybe it was actually a little before that, but I believe it was around there. ENS and Digital Athletics were always fighting, especially in scrims, were always fighting for Rostock. And then obviously ENS, they qualify for the finals in this tournament, but they never, I don't know if they never considered, because they probably did, but they never committed to go back to Rostock again. And then Winstreak gets it. I guess, I mean, there's no point in fighting Winstreak, and if you're satisfied with looting Severny, you can just go ahead and do that. I just thought maybe they would do a little more to try and see if there was a way they could get Severny back, but I guess they never really cared to try and fight forward, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I just thought since they put so much power or so much energy into fighting DA for Rostock, that they would to some extent do the same against Winstreak, but never happened. Maybe they know Winstreak never backs down, and therefore they just said, let's not waste our time doing that. So they're up north instead. Rotations are going to be pretty straightforward. I mean, if you play... The funny thing is, if you draw a line between... I like to draw lines. I feel like that's the sentence I say the most when doing these streams. If you draw a line cross, like, kind of splitting up potato, then you have a lot of compounds on the south side and no compounds on the north side. And that's not entirely true. But down here, there's a lot you can play, whereas to up north, there isn't. In terms of compounds, anyway. These are like big prio areas, and then I know that you have this, but I don't consider that to be on Everest. So you don't really get anything before you get all the way down, which means that if you're playing the north side, you're most likely, like anywhere up here, you're most likely going to abandon your vehicles to some extent, and it's limited what you can scout. Whereas to on the south side, it's so much steeper that you can see a lot further, and you have a lot more compounds to play around than you do towards the north. I guess your safe haven in the north side is apps, because you can always crash apps. I mean, okay, depending on the game, but for the most part, you can always crash into apartments. But I feel like when we have these splits, you normally see a lot more teams, and especially with these type circles, you normally see a lot more teams up to go south around rather than stay on the north side. Let's see if that's going to be true here. PSM rotating up towards the hilltop, scouting forward, see if they can find something to play from. Winstreak and Omar can end up fighting in the open. A little clustered for an early game engagement. Etiquette gets rotated and take south side. Liquid splitting double barns. And East Hill or Kill Hill or Cloud9 Hill or whatever you want to call it. Let me know in chat. What do you call this hill? I know this is Pachinki Hill, but this hill has, I think I can come up with 5 or 6 different names for the East Hill that people frequently use. So what's your name? What's your name for this hill? Liquid, commit. Surprised what actually gets them to leave. They get shot at once by Vard from the hills. And that's enough. They go, nope, 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 nope. Let's leave. Okay, so Vard is the pressure point that makes Liquid leave. Cloud9 Hill or C9 Hill? Yeah, okay. That's one I've heard before. I was just wondering, maybe there's a new name that I haven't heard, because I feel nobody have the same name for this hill. Circle, hard shifts to the east. Now this is a fun one, and why is that? Let's see right as the circle pops. There we go. Everyone is making their way over towards the east, but when you're rotating from west to east in these circles, you only have so many options in terms of where you want to go. Let's just draw up the opportunities you have. Road. South around. Over somewhere in this direction, or up and down here. Or north around. Or, I mean, of course, if you come from up here, you can do whatever you want. But you essentially have 4 roads, because no one's going to be driving through the field into this circle. I mean, maybe somebody will, but very few teams do that, especially now that you have this whole trench area that you can't really maneuver through. So you don't have that many options in terms of rotating towards the east. And whenever you come to the east, compounds obviously, compound, hilltop. There is a lot of potential roadblocks that are going to be really hard to scout, because when you come from west to east in this circle, obviously you want to get there, you want to get a safe spot as fast as you can. But you can't just full speed send it, because if you're driving down the road and there's a team here, odds are you're going to get killed, right? So you have to do the whole driving and scouting at the same time thing. And I'm really curious to see whenever we get the new Erangel with the new pier that's been added, like harbor thing that's been added down here, how that's going to impact these circles. How many, because this rotation right now that we see a lot, either over the top or just down here, over, that type of thing, it's going to be extremely difficult whenever we get this thing in here. Because not only have they added a harbor, obviously, but behind the harbor, there are two massive hills that look something like this. Which means that actually blocks off the entire south rotation. You can still do it. Like, if you're genius at playing driving games, like boom, 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 and you know exactly when to turn. If you're on a bike, you can do it. But I've tried to kind of fly the path of how you would have to drive, and there's so much debris and small oil thingies, like barrels and different things, that make it extremely hard on the newer angle to go through here. So if this is not, and like if we draw a line here, as in this is not possible to rotate through, then you can see where can you go. Then you're either forced to take the road, because you have compound here, that's a no-no. Road, yes, but up here you have another compound that goes all the way up here. Then your next rotation point, like if you don't dare to go through here, then you cannot really rotate anywhere before you come up here. Then your only rotation opportunity is either going over here or come all the way up here, right? So, but you cannot drive like this. I mean, this is gonna be a wonky rotation. If your next rotation, like if you rotate like this, that's also gonna be weird, because then, oops, then what about all this stuff down here? That's gonna be a weird one. So I'm excited to see how this whole area that's gonna come in is gonna impact west to east rotations on the south side, because I think it's gonna mean that most teams that would normally just go like that and either play here or play here will have to go north around, or just stop down here. But it's really tricky to get your vehicles through down here, so you have to drive around the top. And if this compound is taken, that's probably not going to be so easy. Just a fun little thing for future PUBG events whenever they do get the different harbors included. Because I don't feel like the other harbors are really that impactful. They have changed some things down by Ferry Pier itself. There's like an extra harbor added that might have something to say when it comes to military rotations. But the south side one down here and what they've done with Novo, I don't feel like it's really going to impact a whole lot. This one here, though, because it's on the mainland, obviously, I think could potentially have quite a big influence. Because it's very rare that we see people rotate through or south around Ferry Pier. So it should only matter in terms of getting across here. Whereas to this is going to impact a lot of these rotations. Most east to west rotations, like if it's a circle like this but it shifts west, most teams normally go over here anyway and then rotate down like this or rotate down like that. It's not too often you see teams rotate up like this and then over like that. So that might not have that much of an influence, but I feel like the rotations where you see teams go the other way, that's gonna be pretty interesting for sure. Let's see. Teams go east to west. Wildcats go over military. Okay, didn't notice that during the game. Here you can see this liquid rotation would not be possible on with the new changes. This right here, because there's a massive mountain thingy here and here, and I don't think you can drive behind like that. So that's not going to be possible on I guess you can say the newer angle, or whenever they add those, whatever you call them, ferries or harbors. So liquid, go down to one player alive, have to rotate in late. Everyone else is being clustered. I mean, it's funny how, look at how clustered everyone is, right? And then you have Shift W with a perfect, like pearls on a string, 3-way split. That's being completely uncontested. And why is that? Because when they go in, they leave this, which is, I mean, this is technically still a pretty good spot in the circle. But they leave this because they know that's going to be the pressure point. Because everyone else are going to be coming in, and this is where they'll stop. No one's gonna send it instantly. I mean, some teams do send it instantly to the Wizard Tower, but no one's gonna send it instantly all the way through there. They're gonna look to stop at the first spot because they can't scout this before they've been here. And they wouldn't just drive past this, not knowing anything. So look at this. Whenever win streak go down here, look at what happens over here. Liquid comes in, fighting Tornado Energy. Etiquette comes in, fighting. Adepts come in, stopping here. So had they been sitting here, Shift W, odds are that if they have to fight off 12 players, I mean 3 full teams pretty much, at the same time, that would have been that would have been pretty. I mean, I'm not saying that Shift W would die, but they would probably die in that situation. So instead, they get to have a 3-way split in the center and let everyone else fight here and let everyone else fight here. And that's where sometimes it can be good to be the ham in the sandwich because it's not close quarters. Like right now, there's no threat potential for Shift W from Northern Lights because NLT are still in a good position. So there's not really a reason for them to fear being crashed. Maybe next circle will prove otherwise, but right now they should count themselves pretty safe, or they should consider themselves to be pretty safe in this split. How long have you been streaming for? Today? Like how long have I been streaming for today, or like career? I think you can just do uptime, right? Isn't that it? 1 hour and 1 minute and 39 seconds. They maintain their split. Now we get the same situation again. They will be the first point of contact for all these teams. Now Shift W has to get the hell out of there because they know they're gonna get pushed on. I don't know. I think I created my account in 2015, but I didn't stream back then. I've been a caster for PUBG for a little over 2.5 years. And I started streaming a little before that, so like 3 years maybe? Around there. It's been very on and off. I've never been like a full-time streamer. It's been very on and off. What do I know? Okay. Let's see. Right now, because everyone is bundled up in and around the farm area, and you don't know, like, look at this. There's so much free space. I mean, obviously it's also a hard shift, but there's so much free space on the south side, right? But because everyone is clustered up, like if you're Navi right now, of course you already have 2 guys going through, but let's say then if you're Tornado Energy, you don't go, okay, this rotation should be free. I mean, you don't consider that because there could be teams all over the place down here that you wouldn't know about. Therefore, you can't just, drive forward. You need to be smart about it, and that involves scouting, and scouting is extremely difficult to do when you're in an area where there's so many players. So if teams like Northern Lights and so on and so forth don't move, then other teams can't move, and if they don't move, then you can't move, and that's when it becomes like edge of the circle choke point situations. So right now, I think a lot of teams are waiting and hoping for Shift W to go somewhere else. And as you can see, now they are, but they're not moving that much. Other teams doing something different. What is the alternative? What is the alternative when this circle pops? If you cannot go south around, and you cannot go through the middle, what's another opportunity you have? Tell me, chat. Enlighten me. Prove to me that you have been paying attention. If you want to go to the east, a boat! I love you, East Cup. A boat. East Cup with the boat rotations. Safe rotation. That is an option. That is an option. That's not the answer I was looking for, though. Let me make it easier for you. If you can't go south around, and you can't go through the middle, what can you do then? North. Thank you so much. That's the answer I was looking for. I used to be a kids teacher, you know? Give up and go back to the lobby. That's also an option. Just TSM goes, nope. No, but you go north around because right now, I mean, talking about boats, the water becomes a fucking annoyance because normally what you say, let's ignore this circle for a second and just draw an imaginary one. Let's go into the water and say this is on land and this is the new hard shift that you get. And you're sitting here. Normally you go, well, the smart play if you want to go here is or wrap into the blue, and there. You can chunk some blue in phase 3 and phase 4. But because of the water in this circle, I mean, you can't really drive south around. Yes, you can, but you're already beat to it if you're TSM, who's currently the team that is furthest out, or if you're Bystanders, who's also currently pretty far out, right? You're already beat to that rotation. And you don't want to go this, like that, take a boat and go here, because by the time you get here, jumping out, then you don't have a car anymore. And the whole splitting, rotation, boat, jumping out of the boat, get onto the beach, run in, it's going to take you a while. And then when you get down here, and the new circle pops up here, you go, and we're fucked. So, the smart play in this situation, which you see a few teams do, is maybe not through there, but the direction. And watch what happens. Ratio Edge is already up there. Bystanders. TSM. Bloop. End up here. Smart play that, spoiler alert, ends up winning them the game. A really smart play. No one is ever able to get down here. The thing is, they know the circle is going to shift away from this in a short moment, so they should be safe to some extent, but a lot of teams opt to try and go around the top, which is a really smart play in this situation, because the south side rotation is pretty limited. Like, it's going to be a tricky one to pull off, because you know teams like Shift W are going to be a nuisance if you try to drive around the south, right? Look at this split, by the way. Greedy Shift W. I like it. I hope the coaches are sitting and going, okay, Shift W get everything they want in the center of the circle. Let's just go punish that. I mean, it's not really the center anymore, but you know what I mean. New circle, pops north. All of a sudden, if you're TSM, you go, oh, thank you. That's my Toby RNG emote. All of a sudden, you're pretty happy with that northern shift. Also, if you're Omakin, that's pretty satisfying. Because only so many teams, only 3 teams opted to go north around, meaning that down here, you still have a good chunk of players left remaining in and around the farm area. So if you draw kind of the center up like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 teams down here. So you have twice the amount of teams on the south side of this circle as you do in the north. And you go, well, I mean, that's not too uncommon on a hard shift. And no, it really isn't. The only thing is, what do we have to play around? Like, what is inside the circle that is currently available? A compound? A tower? This isn't really available because in 5 seconds, Ratio Edge will be there, so you can't really beat them if you come from down here. And then you go, oh, but then we'll just play in the open. Will you, though? Let me draw up. No, you know, we'll leave the people here. Up to the road, I guess, approximately. In all of this, inside this, let's just draw up the compounds. Inside this area that I've marked with green, you can really only play those 3 compounds because it's so flat. It's very similar to the situation we talked about yesterday up here, like with this area where they're like, if you're anywhere here, you can really only play there or there, because I mean, you cannot just sit here. You just can't do that because you're in the middle of the open. It's very similar down here. Maybe there's a dip, maybe there's one rock, maybe there's one tree, maybe there's a broken car you can prone behind, but you cannot really play it, like dynamically, actively playing it. You can try and prone there if you're solo, sure, but you don't really get a whole lot with it. And then look down towards the southwest and see how many teams need to do something else. Shift W down here. Navi is down here. Tornado Energy is down here. FaZe Clan, well, they're inside the circle still, but in order for them to be able to stay where they are right now, that would be like 6 hard shifts in a row, which even for FaZe Clan, I don't think they're expecting the game to end inside the farm at this point. So they know they have to leave somewhere. Adepts, all they can do is stay where they are. Blaze, they can stay where they are. They can scout forward, but they can only really play from where they are right now. So there's a lot of this circle that is just really, really, really not playable. And it's all in the direction of where you're kind of clustered, like where there's a lot of players coming in from. So some of them are already in. You can see, I mean, they're not moving an inch. They're not going anywhere. They're just staying. Na'Vi tries to rotate over the top. Tornado Energy is doing the same thing. They hear the vehicles. They stop to try and take the fight to them. Surprised that Na'Vi never opted to go to the compound. I guess they never had a chance to scout it when they heard Tornado Energy stop above them. So they take the fight to them. Shift W, they went on a complete YOLO rotation. I like the idea. Look at this. They're rotating from down here. They hear the fight going on. I guess their initial thought was to just push up towards yellow. But they hear the fight going on there, so they go, well, that ain't gonna happen. Driving through Milta, even though they were the south side team, it's still a scary situation because a team could have pushed into Milta from the east and you wouldn't know about it. So you can't just go up and go through the city, even though that might save you some time. So they have to go over the beach, all the way around, past Mungie, up over the top into the new, what do you call it? Kind of, trench area. And then from here, they could play on foot. They could play the rest of the game on foot. But again, if you get a west hard shift and you're sitting out there, then you're fucked. They stay in the vehicles and they go, well, we haven't really heard any fighting in the center. How about if we crash it? And nope, ain't gonna happen. I think this is probably the one spot. This is probably the one spot in these type circles that everyone will be trying to play. I think, honestly, they would have been better off trying to crash the compound or crash here than try and take this. Because I feel like this has become the go-to, you know? Like back in the day when everyone was trying to play Kingwin Dip up near Mansion. Now there's more stuff you can play around there. But I feel like this, you always see, like this is one of the prio spots that teams go for early. And I'm not sure why Shift W thought that they would be able to get this for free. Because that doesn't happen and they end up getting eliminated. Bystanders try to find a third party angle. They managed to do so. Fortunately for them, Ratio Edge lost a lot of players in the engagement before. Fights escalate south around. Fuzzface pushes you up with the vehicle. Him and Gustav pushes up to Philo. Tries to see if they can clear him out of the shack. Don't succeed in doing so. They both go down. Philo ends up dying to 8C. And once again, 8C is left alone. He's been, what do you say? Not claiming, but I guess you can say claiming a lot of solo points, but unfortunately, nothing more. It's going to go down to Wildcats. Again, there's nothing really you can play down here. Aaliyah has the compound all alone. Omar and only 2 players left alive. Now the north is the cluster point because, well, everyone has to leave the shelter. New circle goes further north. Wind streak goes, we can crash this. Northern Lights and Omar says, nah, you can't. But they do manage, they do manage to stay alive. It's a lot of, 2 people drive, and that's a clutch knock right there. Offstring. Ding. Knocks Vasco. That's your go sign. They've been sitting here for a while in here, and they've probably seen, as we've talked about this before, but you can see in a compound whether there's 4 people alive or there's 1 or 2. One thing being the clothing, another thing is just the amount of activity. You can try and count it up on the vehicles, but that's not always a tell because the team that crashed the compound could have had 3 guys in 1 vehicle, and then it's difficult to say, oh, there's only 2 cars, so there should only be 2 players. That you can't really base it on that. But if you have had enough time, which in this case, Windstreak has, because they were 3 alive before, right? These guys have been sitting here for quite a while. Now is when they get up here. So 17:03 to 22. They've been sitting here for a solid 5 minutes with the chances to look down towards the compound. They know that Jimty got killed earlier. They were the ones to get the kill even. So they know that there's at most 3 alive. And if they counted earlier, there's only 3 alive and they killed 1. If they kept track of the kill feed and said, okay, Omakan lost 1 earlier. Now there can only be 2 because we just killed 1 more. Battlein comes in, tries to crash. Not gonna work out. Kimba goes for the bike. 1 more bike out. The bait. Vasco peaks because here's the bikes being started. Offstring hits a crew. Like this used to be, if for any Liquid fans out there, this for a while, I don't know if it still is. To some extent it might be. I guess it's a little more dynamic now. But this used to be like something James was extremely good at. Whenever Liquid had to crash something, James would always be the one that stays behind because it's like teams, we rely on you to hit that shot whenever he peeks that window. And in this case, Offstring nailed it. Because now they know there was only 2 alive before. We've seen one inside this building, aka this one is going to be open. Like, we can go over and play here. And instead they crash the other one. That's actually a little surprising. God damn it, I thought Winstreak crashed the other building. Because that was exactly the play that I would have made. But then again, I mean, you know you have Northern Lights above. They probably didn't want to run to Northern Lights. Yeah, I guess it still makes sense. Because you know you're in a 3v1. But you still lose players trying to crash. But now they get the kills and they get the compound. I actually thought they were crashing the other one. But then I guess they would have been visible to Northern Lights. What did bystanders do in the midst of all of this? They used the chaos. That's also really nice timed with the knock on one of the Northern Lights players to claim the wizard. Okay, makes perfect sense. And by the time they're down here, everything is kind of reset. That's a good steal. That is a really good steal from bystanders. To go, well, now this is popping off. Let's go down and claim this instead. Smart play by them. Smart play. PSM have wiped out the majority of ends. Etiquette is still up and around here. Now they crash down to take the fight. One falls. Yord, unfortunately, probably won't get rest in this situation. Nope, he's gonna go bleed out. Kemba tries to push in, ends up going down. Beamy, unfortunately, knocked there as well. Bystanders eliminated. Could they have played this differently? Did they even need to push in? I mean, you can see the circle goes to the west. The game actually ends. Excuse me. The game actually ends early. But question here is, did bystanders with 4 alive, I believe. Lemmy, Beamy, Yord. Are there only 3? They're only 3. Okay. But with 3 alive, did they need to crash into this? They don't go down there before the new circle pops. And the new circle is going to exclude them both. Kind of. At the same time. Do they have the first knock to go off of? No. So they don't get the knock. They know they're split in each building. But do they have to crash it? Could they have taken a position in here instead? There's not really a whole lot to play. That would have been them having to then go down, maybe fight Na'Vi in this dip, or try to take the dip on the other side, but then they would have had teams in between them, and Winstreak would have seen them. Was there a bit of play that bystanders could have done? Is Beamy still here? Beamy, are you still here? If you are, then I would like to hear your opinion on this. Or maybe to chat, because chat, I believe the majority of you guys know this area as well. Was there a better play bystanders could have done than try to crash into the compound that they know was going to be shifted out? Also on YouTube, if you're watching on YouTube, let me know in the comments. Was there a better play for bystanders than taking the fight to Winstreak? Was there something else that they could have done that would probably have helped them out more? They could have just backed off and run up into the hill. Then they would have had to fight TSM. And they were even the ones to get the knock on Iroh. So they knew that there was a knocked TSM player. They could hold out Winstreak. That's going to be difficult. They could have held out Kemba. Because as you can see, if you look at the blue down here, by the time Kemba is in the blue, or his building is in the blue, they're still going to be in. So they could have held out Kemba, maybe try to see if they can get the kill on him before he gets to cross the road, or cross to the other house. But this house and this house are going to be out of the circle approximately at the same time, as you can see. Actually, by the time that the wizard is completely out, you still have space inside here. They would have been out before, so they couldn't hold them out. But is there something else that they could have done? I don't know. I'm asking you guys. It's not. I'm not asking because I have an answer. I just want to hear your thoughts on it. And if Beamy is here, I would love to hear his thought on it, because he was in the game and probably has an opinion on why they did what they did. But either way, that ends up happening. They do get the kill on Kemba. They secure themselves some more placement points, but they go down to Na'Vi in the end of it. And then you have TSM. Again, they made the rotation early. Smart playing, taking control of Shelter in the end of it, holding off Na'Vi. Best of luck Molotovs himself, and they win the game. It wasn't a massive game, I believe. What did they have? 3 kills. Very quiet kill game for them. But it was a good game. it was their early decision to rotate all the way around north that ends up winning them the game. Yes, they do get the northern hard shift, but that's not really the, to me at least, that's not really the deal breaker in this. Because they could still play down the forest. Had they tried to rotate south around, either Shift W or Nami would probably have killed them, or at least eliminated some of their players, and then you play a bad game from there. So smart plays by TSM to go out and claim the win. That was game number 3. Let's hop on over. Game number 4. Northern Plain. That's approximately a plain line. Let's do it like that instead. Northern Plain, aka no military games. Because the circle is going to touch the plane path to some extent. And what does this leave us? What does this leave us? Everyone gets to go where they want to go. We've seen it before. Nothing big under the sun. Nothing new under the sun, I should say. Simple rotation paths coming in. Let's see how well you know your teams, guys. Also, on YouTube, if you're watching there. Raise your edge. Wildcats. Adepts. Are your 3 teams? No, you know what? Let's include Etiquette as well. We have 4 teams. 1, 2, 3, 4. How many of these teams rotate into the circle north of Yasnaya? I give you 10 seconds to answer. How many teams rotate either across here, or across here? Out of the 4, how many of them do? We'll do ratio, just go through here. So Wildcats wrap south around. 2 Adepts go in and around here. 1 team goes north around. Blub says 3 of 4. Only 1 team, says Rafa. Nita thinks 3 teams as well. No one says 2. No one says 4. Fair enough. Let's see. Liquid leaves early. We all know that. Fair enough. So you're thinking Ratio Edge is just going to go through and over Pachinki? Looks like it. Adepts, north over. That's 1 team. Etiquette went south over. Right behind Liquid. Ratio Edge went south. And so did Wildcats. Rafa and Escup were right. Only 1 team went north around. Had this been... I kind of want to say any other region, you would have seen probably 2+ teams go north around. Because so many teams, and I don't know exactly why it is, so many teams fear playing on the south side as opposed to playing up north. Also, I mean, to be honest, lately we've had a ton of circles go up here. So it kind of makes sense that teams play the patterns or play the what they usually see. Wildcats, they killed a teammate and then kept driving. That's right, they had someone DC. That's unfortunate. That's unfortunate. Where's Navi? Where is Navi? Can you find them? Exactly. That's their alternative loot spot when they don't want to go down to south. We don't really have we don't have Pittsburgh Knights in our scene anymore, so there isn't really that one committed team that gets to loot all of this. By the way, when you look at the map, this is an absurd split. I'm not sure why Pittsburgh Knights were allowed to loot this for so long. But you don't really have that one team that loots all of this anymore. So Navi, they've claimed Mansion and Heaven, and they're kind of north side of it as their alternative loot spot. Rage Edge, Wildcats all go south around. Adepts go north over. Omarken, Pearls on a String. Where's the 4th Omarken player? 3? Page? Oh yeah, he gets killed by Navi. That's right. So a split. A split. A split. 2-way split. TSM, 2-way split. 3-way split. Alternative energy, liquid, solid 2-way split there. Maybe have someone play in the forest. That's going to be James. South side is given up. Wildcats moving in late because of the disconnect. And look at this Northern Lights control play. They want to have a chance to say we can go this way and we can go this way. That is, I love this split from Northern Lights. It's really wide, but you're playing compounds and areas of the map that is not really being contested ever early game. I just think it's a really, really smart split, especially early on in the game. Oh yeah, but then we have a fight going on down here. That's right. Adepts 4-man crash into TSM to try and take a fight to them around prison, which, I mean, to be fair, they're getting shot at by Navi, as you can see. Noki gets tagged there. And the thing is, there's just nowhere else you can stop. They could have, to be honest, probably stopped and scouted from Kingwin Dip. I just don't think they expected anyone to be here at this point. And then it's too late, and they're forced to take a fight. Iro comes over to help. Has a good off angle on the other side of the road. New circle pops, and we go north. And now, as you can see, Northern Lights, I mean, to be fair, Perfectix and Batulan have to be fast if they want to go all the way up to deep. But they're in a really good split because they can take control with 2 on either side, and hopefully they can allow for their teammates to rotate towards them. Because no one, again, very few teams up to play out by the water in these circles, so they can kind of use this as a rotation path to whichever like side of the circle they want to go to. Blaze, send it up towards the north side shoreline. Ends comes in from the north. Wildcats up to go north around. That was a little surprising to me. You can see they're coming all the way up here. Wildcats were sitting all the way down here, I remember. You can't even see it. They're after the disconnect. They just up to go all the way north over. Had they been bit off being in the south? Nope. That's the thing. You have such a big area of the map where you can't really do a whole lot. And then you only have so many access points into this circle. I mean, if you look down towards the south, you have a road. You cannot drive through the prison. And then, I mean, where do you stop when you drive here? Yes, you can go play Kingwin, but that's pretty early. You can play the new freighter thingy, military fortification. Or you could try and crash either like the 2-story or the garage building and hope that you're running into a split team and not a 4-man stack. But even this early in the game, that can be scary. So I kind of, it makes sense to me that Wildcats up to play the north side instead. But at the same time, when you have Ents in the lobby, and Ents is always that north edge team, especially on Erangel, then I feel like that's, I don't know, a little scary. Instead, they try to crash into the buff cup. She created, gets isolated, ends up getting killed by Blaze. Northern Lights now take the fight to bystanders. Base, only 2 players left alive, are playing on the north side. Circle shifts into the open again. Hello, Juvar. Morning. It's 1:30. It's not morning. What do you mean? Win streak wraps around to the top. And again, remember, you're very limited in what you can play until this is shifted out. It's very limited what you can really play like down here. You need to know that you're the last team that comes in from here in order to play this and look inside the circle. Because if you're sitting here, you're completely exposed to whatever is up here. So win streak can't really safely go down and play this area without first knowing that no one's coming here. That's why you see Kemba and Wanderer waiting. In case another team wants to do something like this, similar to what win streak just did, wrap over the top, right? So they're waiting up here to make sure that no one else is coming from here. And then they'll move in with the circle. They'll say, okay, 3, 2, 1, great, no one is coming. Let's just move forward. And now they can go down and play this because they don't expect there to be anyone up here. Except, there was one guy. That's just unfortunate timing. Killikai gets 1, but Winstreak does manage to get inside the building. Blaze ends up third-partying that as well. Watch this. While all of this is going on, Blaze is still sitting up on the other side. Blaze is still doing the split up here. Northern Lights up to engage bystanders. Blaze catches this read. Reads this perfectly. They know that they've pushed up and they're taking a fight to bystanders. Blaze go, well, that's free real estate and a third-party opportunity. So they go, I wonder if we can just end up getting a lot of kills off of this, because right now there's 8 players inside this compound. Also a little terrifying, but they have 8 players in there. And they're just waiting for the fight to pop off, and as soon as it does, they run up to take control. And right as they come running up, Winstreak gets the exact same read. Well, there's a fight going on. Let's third party. That's free real estate. Now we can see if we can get kills. I love it. It's really funny how both the teams make the exact same read, and to be honest, they both get the exact same out of it, which is a really good position. Down towards the south, you've kind of got less to play around, so they are all forced to take the fight forward here because you can't really cross in this direction. You can only really cross there or there, and the team's already there to hold off. So that doesn't work. Na'Vi. I'm surprised that Na'Vi was allowed to maintain this two-way split for so long. I mean, Liquid, they probably scouted it, to be fair. They probably scouted it. They knew there was going to be a chaos situation down here with all the teams that were leaving, like the different usual spots that you play from. They knew there was going to be a cluster fight going on here, so I think they stayed to get more kills, while James probably always had eyes in this direction. He knows this is free, so he goes, guys, take your time. We're not in a hurry. This is still available. See what you can get in terms of third-party kills down here. And then when you say 3-1, now we've spent enough time doing that, then we leave. But by the time they leave, Na'Vi has already come back up. And that's where I would have thought that Liquid opted to push down here. When they saw, I don't know if they saw. But that's where I thought Liquid would have, when they saw, or heard at least, because James is not in a vehicle. By the time they rotate out on the bikes, James is not in a vehicle and EP isn't either. So I thought he would have heard them leave yellows, or maybe even seen it, and then they go out and take that so that they could sit here and hold out whoever won this fight. That makes sense? Because that was the play that I was waiting for. James sits here, makes sure that they have something to play up here, and EP and Mexi tries to see if they can get some kills in this direction. Whether it's Mexi, James, or EP who calls it, whenever they say, great, we can't get any more out of this situation without, well, risking our own lives, let's leave, they go. And at this point, I would have thought, I mean, of course, there's a billion things going on at the same time. So it's easy, it's always easy for us to be able to sit and make these decisions, because we're literally talking 29, 30, 35. It's a 6-second decision that you have to change. So if they've already said, let's go up here, like you put down your marker in game, we're going here, then you have about between like 5 and 7 seconds to change that decision. And there's a lot going on. People are shooting all over the place. You still have a massive fight going on to the south. And changing that decision in the heat of the moment is a lot to ask for anyone. And it's so easy to us because we just spent 10 minutes talking about it, and we spent more than 6 seconds discussing what was the right thing to do. Let's put it that way. So Liquid ends up rotating north around into the area that was taken now, and goes around the back. So it's not a bad play, but I still would have thought, I would have thought they were opting to go down here. The thing is, if you're inside the yellow house, you have to think circles ahead, right? And that's something Liquid are really good at. If you're inside the yellow house, or planks, whatever you want to call them, because they're not yellow anymore, if the next circle doesn't include you, what are your opportunities? The only play you can really make from here is to push out on foot in this direction, or to try and push mansion. Whereas if you're up here, if you've already managed to avoid the mansion and you're sitting on the north side, you have the entire forest you can play into on foot. And the forest, let's say the forest is probably still this big. They're yellow to you, Koba. It's like, my eyes, I'm colorblind on those buildings. They will always be yellow. Aren't they like blue or green or whatever now? I don't remember. Either way, they're probably still called yellows by the majority of people because they used to always be yellow, you know? It's gonna be one of those, if PUBG still exists in 15 years, it's like, but why do we call those buildings yellow when they're not? It's like, oh, my son. Back in the old days, when you were not born yet, those buildings used to be yellow. It's gonna be one of those Mufasa moments. Either way, smart decision in terms of the fact that there's a bigger chance that this is gonna be in than this is gonna be inside the next circle. You know? You would think at least, there's a bigger chance. So they're playing for the next circle. And by avoiding Na'Vi in this area, they can now push out and play this on foot. And Liquid is a good up-close team as well, so it makes sense. In the meantime, Ratio Edge gets to play in here. And as you can see, they're already pushing out on foot now. But now they have Ents to deal with and Na'Vi as well. So they're kind of pinning themselves in, but it's still, in this situation, probably better to be up here. And you mean you have to take the fight to somebody. You cannot play face, what is this, 7 and not, or 6, I guess. And not expect to have to fight teams. That just doesn't happen. So Liquid needs to do something. Either you push in, take the fight to Ents, or you wrap over the top and take the fight to Omaken. You don't know if there's a team here. I don't think Liquid knows about Omaken being up here. But even if they do, I mean, they're already being shot at by one team. So if they say, let's go up here, and there's another team there, that's like a guarantee that they will get third-partied. Then you know for a fact that that's going to happen. So they need to either take the fight to Ents, knowing that there's also a team in here that could fight them. Like, they're in a situation now where no matter what they do, they'll get third-partied. It's simply impossible for them not to get third-partied at this point. Maybe even fourth-partied. Because if they start fighting here, then both teams could end up wanting to engage them, right? So Liquid is in a pretty tough spot with that shift favoring Ents. On the other side, they try to fight their way down the hill. It's a tough one for everyone. Liquid slowly tries to make their way in. And this is perfect for them. The fact that Omaken leaves is absolutely perfect for Liquid. Omaken leaves to go and third party this makes perfect sense. Because if they get this, if they get these guys killed, they can play this entire thing. So they come over, they say, let's just play contain here and make sure that no one comes down towards us. As long as they push the other way into Ratio Edge, we're perfectly fine. We can play all of this here. And obviously, Liquid reached this, and now they can push further in this direction. But it still is extremely open here, so it's difficult to see. And then, what does Liquid have to wait for? Na'Vi and Ents to start fighting. Unfortunately, doesn't really happen fast enough. Teams ends up going down. Gets flushed as well. Circle goes down. And now, I mean, again, they're just waiting for something to happen here. Like, something, please fight each other. Instead, ends up being allowed, I guess you can say. They're being allowed to hold out without Na'Vi really doing anything. Now they have to fight. And who's the best team in the world to third party? Here comes Na'Vi. Up they go. Flush, flush, flush. So you can say Omaken and Na'Vi are actually doing the exact same thing. Clear your edges. Wait for the third party opportunity. Clear the edge. And that's again where Na'Vi is so damn good. Because Na'Vi could have taken the fight. When they were here, and they see Ents outside, they could have taken the fight. But of course, 1, they have a compound or a house inside the circle. And 2, they don't want to be the team getting third partied. Na'Vi wants to third party. So they go, nah, we don't want to fight them. Let's just leave. Even though they're getting shot at, even though Tixu is looking elsewhere, they're saying, nope, let's just leave. We're inside the circle. This is going to give us a chance to third party somebody else. Just wait for it, wait for it, wait for it. Take the fight with an advantage. Now 1 knock comes in. Whoops, sorry. The fight escalates. Now they can third party. And they know they have to be fast at clearing this before these guys come here. That's why they take the cars. They are speedy forward. They know they need to clear this really quick before Omaken gets an angle on them. They clear it, and now they can reset, take the fight to Omaken. Circle goes center, but somewhat north. 1 down from each team, 2 down from each team. Vasco in a 1v2. Ain't gonna happen. They don't have trees for cover. Na'Vi wins the game. Really good game by Na'Vi there. In terms of decision-making late game. Again, they could have fought Ents. Other teams probably would have fought Ents in that situation. But Na'Vi says, we don't want to take a straight-on 4v4. Let's just wait till we have the advantage. Great. Na'Vi and Liquid are fighting now. That's our chance to move. Because they knew they were up there. They knew that Liquid were up there from earlier. Like, they heard them shooting at each other. They knew there were more than one team up here. So just say, wait for them to fight each other, then we go. and then hope that by the time they take this fight, this is not over. Because had this already been done now, like had all these players been dead and Omar can had this entire thing, then it would be really difficult for Na'Vi to push this. But because they know there's still a fight going on over here, they push north. So smart play by Na'Vi, smart play by Omarkan as well, to be honest. They just couldn't finish it fast enough to get the jump on Na'Vi. So they were allowed to reset, Omarkan was allowed to reset, straight up engagement. Na'Vi already has the better position in the circle, they end up winning the game. Good game, and that was it for day 2 of EU. So if you're watching on YouTube, take care, and see you in the next video.